Okay, so I'm basically going to do a really quick video here, and I'm going to talk about something that I call the golden triangle of the drive. So I'm going to use this video here, and then I'm going to compare it with the video of Kim Brennan from the Rio Olympics. But we're going to start here because this actually gives us a pretty good example. It was just a news story from WIVB-TV. Obviously, it's from a while ago. And this is a crew that just goes rowing by as part of the news program. But we're going to be looking at this person here. This is 7th seat in the 8 that just happens to be going by. So we're going to come back here, and we're just going to play it, and we're going to let them go along, and we're going to watch this crew rowing along. Now, obviously, this is not a super high elite level crew, right? This is a totally average crew, and I'm not using this crew to call anybody out, especially this person that I'm going to be focusing on. The point is just to highlight what we want to do and what we don't want to do when we're trying to generate power throughout the stroke. So here we go. So these people here are rowing along, they have their blades extracting, etc. Now, we get to 7th seat here, and the golden triangle for power application for me is we want to think of three things. We want to think of the hip, which is where the slide is. We want to think of the shoulder, and we want to think of the hands. Okay, those are your 3 points. That's going to make your golden triangle. And we want to think, as we're trying to generate power and effort and force, and put it on the end of the blade and get the best return power-wise, best propulsion on the boat for the effort that we're putting in. Now, if we engage the particular areas of the body in the wrong format and the wrong progression, we're not going to be able to maximize that force. We're going to be using a lot of energy, but we're not going to get a lot of return for that investment. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to think of those 3 points. The one that is moving the fastest is the one that is taking the weight. Okay? So what we mean by that is if the seat is moving the fastest, and this, of course, bears in mind that the shoulder-hip angle, especially through the start of the drive, remains the same. We want that angle from the hip to the shoulder to be the same. Okay? So if the seat is moving the fastest and that angle remains the same, we know that the legs are going to be taking the weight. Okay? That's going to be the biggest propulsive muscle group we have, and that's what we want to do. If at a point in the drive, the shoulders are out accelerating the hip, so we see the body angle change and the body angle starts to open up, but the distance between the hand and the shoulder remains the same. We know now that the body, the torso, is taking the weight. The legs are not, because they're being out accelerated. The slide is being out accelerated by the shoulders, but the hands and the shoulders are still in uniform time. If we have the handle here, coming quicker towards the body and moving towards the bow faster than the slide, we know that the arms now are going to be taking the weight, and hopefully and ideally, actually, the muscles of the upper back and the lats, etc. Okay, if we don't have those things happening in the proper order, we're going to lose power, we're going to lose speed, and we don't want to do that because we're putting in a lot of effort. Why not get the best possible return? So we look at this person here, and we're going to come back here, and we're going to say, here's their catch position. I believe they're actually probably a little bit reaching here, but that's okay. That's neither here nor there. So now when they start their drive, we're going to initially watch what's happening here. And we're looking at, we're going to bring it up here. We're looking at this angle here and this distance here. So as we progress through it, we can see right now already, okay, the shoulders are out accelerating the slide. The legs are barely going down here at all, but the body angle here has already changed. He's opened that angle up, which means, see this angle here? That's a very steep angle. A few frames into it, we're much more upright. So the weight has been taken here on the back rather than here on the legs and driving that blade with a nice good horizontal pressure on the foot plate while holding the body strong and really engaging these erector muscles, these lats, these core muscles, the stabilizers to maintain strong that forward pivot. We also now see right away, boom, see this bend in the arm. So now we know not only were the shoulders out accelerating, but the hand is out accelerating the shoulders and the slide. Okay, it is now the fastest moving part. So at this point here, this person is using the arms to pull that blade to them. Now we've still got a lot of leg left. So here's the problem. The legs have basically become useless in this stroke. So we're totally ignoring our biggest propulsive muscle group. We need to hold that body angle. We need to hold those arms nice and long. As we progress through a little bit more here, look at this. Look at the pull. Here, he's already got a little bit of layback. Legs aren't done. Arms are bent. Right? And that's a pretty significant bend. So this is very much a stroke that is being driven by the arms, by the upper body in the arms, not the legs. Right? This person here, we can see their legs are flat. This person here, legs look fairly flat. This person's legs are still up and bent. So this is a very weak stroke as far as what this person could have done. We don't want to do that. We don't want to be this person here doing this. So when we take this stroke and take this drive, boom, we want to really focus on hanging these arms. Keep the distance between the shoulder and the hand nice and long, nice and open, okay? Because that's going to really just lock that in. We're not going to put any undue stress on those small muscles of the arms. If you're pulling with the biceps, they're, good showy muscles. Everybody likes a good flex now and then, but they're not really strong muscles. They're not going to generate a lot of force. And in fact, I will probably touch on this in many other videos if I do many more videos. We don't really even want to be using the upper arms biceps. We want to focus more of the draw to the body, and this is why I use the term the draw rather than pulling the blade in or something like that. I like to think of it as the draw because we're going to use the traps, the lats, etc., all these muscles of the back and shoulders to actually draw that handle to the body with big, strong, powerful muscles rather than little tiny muscles of the arms. So we don't want to take that. That's going to put too much onus on those muscles. They're not going to be able to handle it. They're going to wear out. They're going to give it up, and you're just going to burn them out very, very quickly. Okay. So here we want to hold that angle, hold that angle, hold that angle. Arms should be long here. Body angle should still be forward. Now at about this point, as far as the legs go, when the legs get to about here, this is about where the legs, you'd want to start getting that layback. So the arms should still be long, the body angle should still be forward, and here you can start to swing back. Once we get through that and the legs get flat, whoop, I just muted something. Okay, here we go, wrong button. So now when the legs get flat and his legs finish, look at this, the legs finish after he's done the extraction basically, right? Boom, there's the final push down of the legs. So those legs did nothing. When the legs are flat right here, this is where you want the arms to start drawing to the body. Okay? We want those, you could probably actually do it when the legs are kind of here or here, but that's about where we want to start drawing the arms to the body. As a quick bit of shorthand, the way that I try to describe it to people is we can have two angles changing at the same time. So when we back up here, we can have crossover between the leg drive where the knee angle is still moving down and the angle at the hip, the body is opening up. That's okay. We can have the body laying back while the arm angle here is, the elbow is also bending. But we never want the legs bent and the arms bent at the same time. Now that is, like I say, that's a bit of quick shorthand. That's not entirely true, but it's a good way to think of it. And we can think if my arms are bent and my legs are bent at the same time, I've got something out of sequence. Okay, so I need to focus on what it is. Am I pulling too early, or my legs not doing enough at the start of the drive? What's going on? Because we don't want that crossover between the arms and the legs. Legs and body is good. Body and arms is okay, but arms and leg crossover, as far as those angles, you don't want your elbow and your knee angles to be doing a lot of movement at the same time. Okay. So now we're going to go and we're going to look at a video of somebody else doing it. And here we're going to look at Kim Brennan from the Rio Olympics. And I'm going to use Kim Brennan because, in my opinion, she is probably one of the best technical strokes there is. Or she's retired now. So one of the best technical strokes that there was. So when we look at her arm hang, we're going to look at the body angle first. So the legs start driving. So there is a bit of body angle change here. Nobody's perfect. But if we look at her body angle here through the first part of her drive, okay, and we look at the distance between the hands and the shoulders, we're going to watch and we're going to see, boom, very little, look at this, very little body angle movement. Those legs are taking that drive, okay? The weight there is on those legs. And the fastest moving part is the slide, because the slide and the shoulders are moving at the same. She's holding that body angle, and the drive is going through that slide. It's letting those quads, letting those glutes, letting these big, strong lower body muscles move that boat and really apply the force to the end of that blade. That's what we want to get here. Once her legs get to about here, we're going to see a lot of body swings start to come in. See here, now she really starts laying back on it. Because the legs now, when they get to this point here, they're not able to generate as much power from this position as they were from this position. Here she's got a lot of compression. Those muscles can really power it through, drive, 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 and now they start to weaken out a little bit. So that's where this takes over, and the body here now, the core is really laying back. And again, we've got these big, strong back muscles, we've got the hips, all these things that are getting involved. But still, look at this. The arm hang is there. There's no less distance between the shoulder and the hand as there was right here from the catch. That is still the same. Okay, boom, 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 she's hanging on. Now she's laying back, and look at this layback. Boom. Look at the distance here from the shoulder to the hand. She's still hanging in there, and these legs are almost flat because these muscles are not going to be able to do anything, right? The upper body muscles are not going to be able to compete with the torso muscles right now, so there's nothing bending here, okay? But now she's going to start to bend those arms and draw it in, and the arms bending, I'm going to guess for her that it's not so much the arms are bending because she's using the biceps, but it's more a fact that the bigger, stronger muscles of the back and lats and traps, as I said before, they're drawing those handles to the blade. They're going to draw the shoulders back on the torso, and then the arms are going to bend just by virtue of the fact that the arm is being drawn in towards the body, and the handles are connected to the hands, which are obviously connected to the shoulder. So we want to think of that as more of the deal. If we're pulling with those arms too much, we're going to use more bicep, which is a smaller, weaker muscle, but also, just like everything else, every force has an equal and opposite force. So if we're pulling the handles towards us, then we're also pulling our body towards the handles at the same time. And that gets a force going in this direction here, which we don't want. We want our forces moving towards the bow. So if we use now the muscles of the back that are going to bring those muscles around the spine, they're going to pull those shoulders back towards the bow and towards the back part here. That's what we're going to be looking for, right? That means that our forces through a lot of that draw are still going to be going towards the bow of the boat rather than pulling our body back towards those handles. But we can see here, look at this progression, right? And if we think of this as power curves, so the legs will have a power curve. So the legs would be, let's say they start here, they come up, and they go to the top of this yellow buoy, and then they go down. And then later on we have the torso, the layback that starts, and it's going to kind of come through here, and it's not quite as strong, right? It's not as powerful as the legs. So it's going to have a peak of, let's say, the bottom of the yellow buoy. Okay, so the legs go drive, 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 drive. When we get to about here, this, actually we'll say here because that's just a nice easy point. This is the peak of the torso. So that means that the torso that starts later, so it's going to start here and it's going to come up to about here. Okay, well that means that those power curves crossed around here. So when the legs get down to this part, that's when we want to kick in the torso, and it goes down like this. Now the arms, the body, the upper body, I'll say the arms, are going to have their power curve over here. So again, as our body fades out, the curve from the arms may meet at here. And that's where we're going to actually start that draw with the upper back and shoulders, and then that's going to peter out. But we always want to be hitting the peak points of each curve because it's a smaller, weaker muscle group as we progress. But if we can make that transition at the point where they meet, we're always going to be using the strongest muscle group available to us. And that's why I say, if we focus on that golden triangle, what is moving fastest through that drive? Is it the slide? That's the hip. Is it the shoulder? Or is it the hands? If everything's moving back at the same time, that means that the lower body's engaged. If the shoulders are out accelerating the slide, that means the torso's taking the weight. If the hands are out accelerating the slide and or the shoulders, that means the hands are taking the weight. And those are very small muscles. We don't want to do it. So basically, that's what we want to focus on with that golden triangle. Really keep it in mind. And if you find that you have a bend at the knees and a bend at the elbow occurring throughout that stroke, take a look and say, how can I change this? What do I need to do to separate that, to only have the 2 points overlapping at once? If we have that third point, those distant points, the knees and the elbows bending at the same time, we're killing ourselves. We're using a lot of energy that is completely unnecessary to use. So that's basically it. That's the what I sort of think of the golden triangle, and hopefully that will be somewhat helpful for somebody.